Howdy. Do you remember when Insidious came out and everyone was talking about how it was the scariest thing ever, even though it was poorly written and poorly acted? Yeah, me too. And today, for all of you who didn't see it, for all of you who missed the hype, I'm going to go through the entire plot. First, a little bit of background info. In case you couldn't tell from the title or the promotional material, this is a horror movie, and it's a horror movie about otherworldly bullshit attacking a family for seemingly no reason. And like many, many, many jokes before it, it was released on April 1st in the year 2011. And holy shit, this is one of the most overrated movies of all time, simply due to one scene that we're going to get to later. So the movie starts with an unfortunately annoying child asleep in their bed, and he's all alone. Everything's good. Oh, wait. No, the fuck it isn't. Because surprise, motherfucker, he's not alone. Camera pans over. There's an old bitch standing at the window, silhouetted, and this reveals to us that this family is the Insidious that we have been told about in the very title of this film. The next few minutes are spent world building when Renee Lambert wakes up and goes to the fucking kid that we saw asleep being spied upon by Michael Jackson. And they go downstairs and start flipping through a photo book, and the kid looks at her and he says, "Mother, I yearn to see a photograph of my father from his childhood." To which the mom says no, because they don't have any. We're going to find out why later, but right now it's just, oh, we don't have any. They have a little bit of an exchange, and then the baby starts screaming, which continues up until the next scene, where they're in the kitchen devouring a gallon of milk, and Dalton Lambert is fighting his brother Foster over a fucking mug. Foster then sits down on the floor and begins to eat Cinnamon Toast Crunch like a fucking caveman, while his mother loses her absolute shit because she cannot get in touch with an agent. Josh then comes downstairs, devours a fake apple in front of his children to set an example and to assert dominance, and then we see Renee leave the room in frustration and find the second example of paranormal shit in the movie so far, when she discovers that the demon haunting this family is violent due to its illiteracy and has scattered her books all over the floor. Unfortunately, she doesn't know it's a demon, so she turns around and blames her children like any good parent would. Josh then gives his sons the Tom Brady treatment before abandoning them and leaving everyone stranded in the house because he is a very, very, very good father. In reaction to this development, Renee leaves the room and begins to play Through the Fire and the Flames on her piano. Unable to cope with the amount of metal she's being introduced to, Callie the baby begins to cry once again, prompting Renee to get up, go to the baby's room, pick up the baby, put the baby back down, and then sprint into the attic. After starting a fire in the attic, she comes back downstairs, and we cut to nighttime when Josh shows back up, presents a bucket of dinosaurs to one of his sons, and then we get the third paranormal thing in the movie, or fourth if you count the mobile in the baby's room, but I don't because it could have been wind. Anyway, sheet music is gone. Renee's sheet music has completely disappeared, and that is now a plot point. So, this is used as a reason for Dalton to be completely alone in the area of the house that he's in, playing with the coolest shark toy ever fucking made, until the attic door opens up, and because he's stupid, he goes into the attic, which is pitch black, and he has no fucking reason to go in there, because the door just opened up on its own. And almost like divine intervention, he goes in there, sees that it's pitch black, and decides that he needs to climb a ladder like Jeff Hardy. Unfortunately, the ladder breaks and Dalton is now dead. Josh and Renee are downstairs shaking the baby, and they are none the wiser to the fact that Dalton has fallen down, given himself a concussion, and can now see demons. So Dalton then turns over to the darkest corner of the attic, starts poking himself in the head violently, and hears somebody fucking a bag of Lay's potato chips. Rightfully, he begins to scream, which prompts Renee and Josh to stop shaking their child and go see what the fuck happened to Dalton. So upon getting to the attic, Dalton is just sitting up like the Undertaker, shrieking and looking at the corner. And instead of saying, "Hey bud, what the fuck are you looking at?" they just assume, He's screaming because he's hurt, and Dalton is too stupid to tell them, yeah, there's someone in that corner shoving potato chips in their mouth and watching me get hurt, and I'm not a fan of it. So Dalton gets up and he's like, yeah, I have a concussion and a broken leg, and I can't breathe, and I'm dying slowly, and they're like, all right, cool, let's go back downstairs. Oh, and tiny little note. You know how Renee was looking for her sheet music and she said that she looked over the entire house? Yeah, her sheet music was in the attic. She lied. So Josh goes to wake up Dalton the very next morning, and then just like the night before, Dalton's fucking dead. So they take him to the hospital, and the doctors are like, there's nothing wrong with him. There's no brain damage. But he's very clearly in a coma, and they have him hooked up to oxygen because he's gonna fucking die. And everyone's just kind of really sad because Dalton hit his head, and now he doesn't exist. Cut to 3 months later, and the family has decided to perforate Dalton with a bunch of hoses and send him back home. Renee continues to try and play through the fire and the flames, though due to Dalton's perforation, she now sucks, so she continues to hit wrong notes until she hears Satan in Callie's room revealing to her that she is indeed a baby and is therefore incapable of doing anything. Upon realizing that Kaylee is indeed a baby and is too stupid to understand the message that he's trying to convey, Satan then tells her to gimme a man after midnight, causing Renee to burst through the door because he's a fucking poser and pick up her child in fear. Once again, we cut to night, and Renee is helping Foster go to bed when she sees a high school diploma on his desk. Now, because he's only 4, this is a big fucking deal, so she's like, yo, did you get this? And he reveals that, yeah, he did get this, but that because his brother has been perforated, he doesn't want to overshadow that with his own success. He then tells Renee that Dalton, every single fucking night, wakes up, unperforates himself, and then hits the zombie slide before going back to bed. This is disturbing news to Renee, because as I've said about 28 times at this point, Dalton's fucking dead. So we cut to even later in the night, and Foster gets out of bed and closes his door, because when Dalton does his nightly ritual of demonstrating how down with the clown he really is, Foster doesn't want to be present. Around this time, Renee reveals to Josh that Satan has been screaming at their baby and that there's nothing they can do to stop it. Amid this conversation, they hear knocking at the door, and being that Josh has never received a visitor a day in his life, he sits up and exclaims, "What the fucking shit ass?" Another side note, their front door was unlocked at nighttime in a house with a perforated child, a child who sees demons, and a baby who gets screamed at by Satan. He walks up to the door and just opens it. He does not unlock it. He looks around, looks outside, and then just opens the fucking door. Their door was unlocked. Then we cut to Renee, who hears Callie screaming once again, and she decides to go into the room where she sees Peter Steele standing over her baby, staring directly at the doorway. She starts screaming for Josh, who was downstairs, locking the door, and he runs upstairs, finds nothing there, checks the closet, checks the room. She's all like, yo, there's a fucking person! And then they hear the alarm going off that's at the front door. He runs back downstairs, and the front door is open. Now, in their defense, this time it was locked, but now it's just wide the fuck open, proving that Peter Steele does not follow the laws of physics and he can just open locked shit with his brain. Josh grabs a fire poker, starts sweeping the house. We see that their couch is covered up with things, presumably to protect it from people liquid, and then the alarm goes off again, doors open again, and then we get a static shot of the outside of the house. Movie really slows the fuck down at this point. Josh is at school, he's grading papers, he calls his wife Renee, and he's like, hey, I gotta stay even later than normal to grade more tests. And then on the chalkboard, you get to see that they have the fucking jigsaw puppet. I think his name is Billy. But anyway, he gets home, and we cut to the next day again, and Renee's like, yo, to the nurse, is my perforated child going to recover anytime soon? And she's like, no, he's fucked. He's fucked. There's nothing we can do about it, and your son's gonna die. Nurse leaves after Renee is all like, no, I'll fix his blanket for him. And then in the process of fixing Dalton's blanket, she sees that someone, presumably Peter Steele, has dipped their hand into a jar of ragu and then slapped the ever-living shit out of Dalton's mattress. Josh gets home, it's like 10:30 at night. Renee's sitting on the porch, leaving the baby in the house by herself, and she's like, you know, I don't fucking like this house. It's really scary. And then she's like, yeah, you're coming home late. I think you're cheating. And that entire ordeal plays out. And Josh is like, he's my son. I worried about him too. Even though Josh has pretty much been absent for most of the movie, with the exception of a few things that he's done to try and protect his children from this fucking demon. And then Renee just kind of shits out the fact that the house is haunted. And obviously Josh is all like, you're fucking stupid. And, you know, we, the audience, we know what's going on. But unfortunately, this movie has another hour, and Josh is going to continue to be an absent dick. And Renee calls him out for it. It's like, you're not here, you haven't been here, you're fucking stupid. And Josh drops our one designated fuck bomb that we're allowed to have in this PG-13 movie. We once again cut to later on in the night, and Josh is sleeping on the couch. Renee wakes up from having a nightmare, and then she sees Peter Steele walk through the fucking wall and begin to scream at her like Gollum getting sounded. And Josh is just like, hey, what the fuck do you want me to do about this? And Renee, being the only halfway intelligent character in the movie, she says we should fucking leave. So they do. They pack their shit and they leave. So they get to a new place, and Josh's mom Lorena's there, and they get to talking about the fact that Josh is fucking cursed, and he has been cursed his entire life. And while that's going on, some shit goes down, and suddenly, behind Josh, a demonically powered Crayola crayon appears, and he says, and everyone loses their fucking minds. And rightfully so, because everyone knows Crayola crayons are evil and crazy art is where it's at. And at this point, everyone just kind of acknowledges the fact that it's not the house that was haunted, it's the family, and that they're all fucked. So Lorraine gets in touch with one of her old homies, Elise Ren, who in turn sends two idiots to come check out this demonically infested family. One of them begins to stare at the rooms while looking through a pair of color-changing McDonald's binoculars, and the other one's like, hey, this is really stupid, why are we doing this? So eventually, Elise shows up because she decides, okay, these two aren't really going to accomplish anything, and she starts to violently scribble in a book and put on a gas mask while whispering to somebody so that she can get in touch with the other side. And then it's all revealed that Dalton's really good at lucid dreaming, but that while you are separated from your mortal frame, other things on the other side, some of which are insidious, will attempt to take your physical frame from you, and they can do whatever the fuck they want. And that's what's happened with Dalton. He wandered too far. The problem is that nothing has been able to get to his body yet to possess it. He's just kind of stuck in limbo. So then we get revealed that the reason Josh is fucked up is because he's also really good at lucid dreaming, but they hit him with the Men in Black pin so that he wouldn't remember any of it, and that it's also why he's afraid of getting his picture taken, because he lucid dreamed and then some old bitch showed up and was all like, and now he can't get his picture taken without losing his fucking mind. So they decide that they're going to sit Josh down in a chair, make him lucid dream so that he can run and find Dalton. And everything's going great, and everything's dandy, and everything's fine, and he meets these creepy, crooky people. And eventually, he finds the forbidden Crayola crayon rubbing a spinning rock for dramatic effect while listening to hit artist Small Timothy. And it's at this point that everything just gets completely fucked. Dalton's like, okay, I'm going back to my body now, Dad. And his dad fights the evil woman who was always in his pictures with him, and you think he overcame it. And everything's good, and everything's great, and Dalton's back. He's no longer dead. He doesn't have to hit the zombie slide anymore. It's happily ever after. And then Elise is like, hey, Josh, let me take your picture real quick. And then Josh gets so fucking angry over this because, surprise, surprise, he was possessed because he was gone too long. He fucking strangles Elise for taking his picture. And then it's revealed to the crowd, okay, he got possessed, and we can now all go home and feel bad about the fact that we wasted an hour and 45 minutes of our time on this garbage. And it's not to say, it was low effort garbage. Like, clearly a lot of effort went into it. It's just, suffered from a lot of limitations. The writing was, the plot was, the acting was, so that all that held it back. If you had had a similar plot, but it was written better, it was structured better, and I'm not saying I could have done a better job, I'm just saying if the job were done better, it would be pretty fucking sick.